It's just a big kid in a 35-year-old man's body.
He's more than just a boss. He's a friend and he's family.
I'm proud of him for finding something that he truly felt passionate about, that he could pour his heart and soul into.
Rob is always a call away. It doesn't matter who you are, he will always answer.
The biggest wish for him is that he recognizes that he's done an amazing thing and he needs to be proud of himself for that. It's not very often you find somebody with a passion like he has. And it is so great to watch him do what he wants and make it a success and be proud of himself.
God's blessed him in ways that most of us never dreamed possible.
A hurricane landed 2 days after I was born, and I tell people, Hurricane Rob landed, then another hurricane. Mom got kicked out of the hospital early, and apparently we rode out this hurricane, my first days of life, in a trailer in Port Arthur. At the time, my dad was a jailer. My mom was a manager at the bowling alley there in town. That's why we still celebrate my birthday at the bowling alley, because it's the only place I would actually go to sleep. I was just used to the sound. Some of my childhood, we moved a little bit. Then we moved back to Texas when I got in middle school, and ended up landing what I consider the majority of my childhood was in Odom, Texas, right outside of Corpus. Stayed there my whole entire high school career, so I got to really get locked in on sports. Middle school in Corpus, I was a little bit of a knucklehead. Was getting into the wrong crowd. So when I got to Odom, very small town, you're in sports or you're not anybody. So I got in sports, I had coaches. I mean, they were on me, so I straightened up a lot.
Yeah, he was a pain in the rear for a while. We thought we was gonna have to send him off to home or something, and our preacher, he talked to us. He took him to lunch one day and talked to him, and he come back and said, yeah, he'll be all right. Y'all don't need to send him anywhere. He'll be fine.
Bad choices, following the crowd, wanting to be a tough guy, and gangs were pretty bad in Corpus, and he wasn't bad. I just saw it coming. And the coach got a hold of him, and he said, if you want to play on my team, you'll find a way to get it done.
I really took to the training, the preparation side of it, so that led to my career kind of in powerlifting, which I was decently good at, I guess. I was a regional champ and this, that, and the other, but it's just that blue collar mentality that I learned from one of my coaches. He was like, everything you want is there. You just got to put the work in. And if you work hard enough, that you can have anything. I love football. I love what it did for young men like myself. And it made me want to pursue a career that was something around sports. Originally, I felt like God's calling on my life was to somehow be a speaker, and I thought it would be more to the youth. I just knew I liked helping people. And one thing I've always been told my whole life is Rob can sell. You've got to be able to sell these young people on the vision you see for them. Not who they are, but you're coaching who they're going to be. I wanted to be like the guys that had helped me so much, Perry Graves, Chad Graves, Coach Kleinhans, all those guys. So I decided to go into teaching, but I also wanted to go the medicine route, so athletic training, and that's how we ended up in Kingsville.
We didn't have much money back then, making money, and I didn't know how I was going to put him through school. He was able to get there and able to get some scholarships. Ruben Cantu, who was his trainer. Ruben took him under his wing. And him and Ruben are best friends still today.
Went down there for a visit. I was locked in. That was it. Never visited any other campus. Got accepted to their sports medicine program and started working on my degree in kinesiology. As a freshman, I had to put out all the water. That was the rule. Freshmen put out water. The key point to that is I'm the only freshman in the program.
We had to take the water from our ice room to the field, and the turf and the track is a pain. And we also did have a practice field, which was also far from our ice room.
I would have to lift 12 10-gallon coolers onto the gator every day, go put them out. And about 3 or 4 weeks in, I went to Ruben and I said, man, you ever thought about those water tanks? And at the time there was, obviously some out there. I said, you ever thought about these? He was like, yeah, but I got you, why do we need that? And I said, but I think we could build one. And our idea at the time was to put a water tank in a shopping cart and use a car battery. And I don't know what we were thinking. Long story short, in my 5 years at Kingsville, did I ever see the prototype? No, I did not. First job out of college, Perry Graves called me up. So he had come back and got a job at Rivera and said, when are you graduating Kingsville? I'm 10 minutes down the road, and if there's anybody I want working for me, it's you. When I got to Rivera, they just had 10 gallons. And of course I almost threw up because I'm like, I'm not doing this anymore. This is my program. I'm not doing 10 gallons. But at the time I didn't really know what I know, and I wasn't gonna build a battery powered unit. So I made one of those nice PVC. I remember building that. At least we had a watering station, something similar to what I used in high school, just a hot pipe plugged into a water hose, but it was something. I remember being focused on hydration and definitely not wanting to lift 10 gallons all day. I wanted to get closer to my parents, who were now living out by Brenham, small town Burton. I was kind of looking, was there jobs available? But I actually was looking for a job too that I could pay all my bills with. I sent out job applications all over the state, but I really wanted to be close to Brenham if I could. One of them that gave me a call back was Tomball Memorial, and that whole thing fell through. And I remember the director of personnel grabbing me on the way out. He said, I don't know if you're interested still, but Klein High has been open. I'd love to put in a good word for you. This guy had just met me in the interview. So I'm like, yeah, let's do it. I didn't know anything about Klein. Sure enough, walked in and got an interview a couple weeks later, and my superintendent back in Rivera understood I was bettering my life, trying to grow and move up to a 6A. I was at a small 2A then, and he let me out of my contract. He said, man, go chase your dreams. And so that's where the whole Klein story started. Now, what I realized when I got here, having never been at a 6A, I graduated from a high school that in my graduating class, I believe there were 72 kids total. And then to work at Rivera, where there was maybe 50 kids total in the graduating class, to come into Klein High, where they're graduating 1,000 kids. Being the athletic trainer was like full-time job. But the same, I guess, motivating factor the whole time has been take care of people, do the best you can for them, and everything will work out.
When he sets a goal, he's going to do whatever it takes to make it work.
So I come up here expecting a little bit less hours and a little bit less work, and then there we are working a lot of hours. But it's more focused at this time because I'm doing the straight sports medicine. Was really getting established at Klein in 2014, decided to buy our first home. I was looking at finances, and I had hit the ceiling for athletic trainer. And from that transition of 2014 to 2015, I've been playing with ideas on how to make more money that eventually I could make my wife a stay-at-home mom and be able to afford everything that a man's supposed to do, be a provider, right? So a lot of praying, a lot of searching, and it was go get your master's and become a principal, which will also lead to the potential AD role, because you got to have a master's most places, or start a business. 3rd grade, I asked for my birthday that year for an official briefcase from my Granny Brown, because my grandparents had their business, and I always felt like business is cool, right? And I asked for a briefcase in a legal pad, because at the time I was building like bracelets out of those little beads, and I was selling them. Of course, I was selling, 35 cents, 50 cents. And I was really in tune with how much did I pay for beads? How much am I selling them for? What's my profit margin? That's a third grader, Rob. But there was still that something in me. I want to sell. I want to make something and sell a product. You can take 20 grand, go be a principal, get your master's. You can take 20 grand, put it into a business. One of those has guaranteed your salary will be this. One of these has your salary could be anything, or it could be nothing and you could lose everything. And I'm always down for a little bit of a challenge. So we decided to go with the business.
And one of Robbie's jobs he had to do while he was at school, he had to take care of their hydration equipment. That's where it all started right there.
And I would always watch him like, what are you doing? And he's just messing with the unit or whatever, the water boy that needed to be fixed. And I was wondering what is going through his head, right? Because he was always so focused. And then that's when Frio came about.
And in the back of my mind the whole time was a conversation I had with another hydration company the summer before about, have y'all thought about putting a Yeti style cooler on your hydration equipment? I was doing my maintenance on my hydration equipment from all other companies that existed at the time. We had one of everybody's, I think.
And the boy had no mechanical inclination at all. That's something he didn't have. But he had a brain and he would think, and he finally figured out how to make things work.
And I'm like, why is this particular company using this cheap part here? And why don't we combine the best of this one and the best of this one? And I'm like, you know what? Why don't we redesign the whole thing? So I sit there and I'm looking at it, and I was like, well, if I did put a Yeti on there and make my own, but I was like, I don't want to use a Yeti because they're so expensive. I don't know if I can compete with that. Let me find something else. All that combined, it gives us our first kind of look at what Frio was going to be, where I put a random rotomolded cooler I found. No affiliation to us, but it was a Frio cooler. They existed at the time. Our name was already established because I bit the bullet and said, so I built this unit, tested it, and for as bad as it looked, it worked.
As an AT student, using Frio there in college was a lot easier to do a lot of things.
I wanted to tie in something from where I'm from, what made me. I grew up every morning looking out my window at farm fields, and we lived in a little house in the country. And just the environment we lived in, that's tough. That's hard work. You're surrounded by hard work. I wanted something that attached kind of the product to where it's from. Frio, South Texas, Those that seek wisdom will find wisdom. I have no formal sales, no formal business. So YouTube, downloading ebooks, whatever I could find to learn what I was doing while I was doing it. And the 3P business model is something I didn't necessarily invent, but I tweaked it. And essentially what that is, you've got your product, your pricing, or your process. All three of them matter. And you've got to win in at least two of those categories to have a successful product. This was my theory at the time. If you can't beat them in price, you better beat them with the product and the process. I said, we're not gonna cut corners anywhere. I'm not looking for the cheapest part. I'm looking for the right part. And it's gonna cost what it's gonna cost, but there's a reason people will spend for quality. In the process of sourcing parts and seeing what competitors use and realizing they've built their system, their cost is maybe $600. They're turning around selling it for $2,500. And I'm over here trying to piece together a unit. The best pricing I can get is $2,000. And then I'm gonna turn around and retail it for, at the time, I think it was like $3,000. I knew nothing about pricing. My profit margins weren't as much, but it mattered that the people would have a product they could rely on. This is our hydration system here that basically built it from the ground up with everything that the consumer would need. This is an Icy Tech cooler that we use as our water tank. This thing's gonna hold ice for days, not just hours. So a lot of times our customers will finish practice, there'll be ice still in here. It's sitting on a heavy duty custom frame, powder coated, got a 5-year warranty. And then we have our Frio rack. You can put your bags, bottles, whatever the case up here that you might want. We've got our water potable drinking nozzles, safe, no lead. All of our tubing and stainless fittings, they're all antimicrobial, including all the way down to the interior of this cooler. That blue lining is 100% FDA approved water potable food grade. I have never, in the 10 years I've been doing this, seen our coolers build up mold on the inside. That's with leaving ice at the end of practice, going to the next day so you can salvage your ice. That's a key component versus our competitors. So this makes a huge difference for Frio. And also the quality of this cooler here, you can't really break it. We've got a heavy duty hitch handle here on the front. And when I say heavy duty, there's tight powder coat on it. You can take that off, hook this up to your gator with the hitch pin, or you can use our convenient handle to pull by hand. It's kind of universal. The one feature everybody seems to like the most on here is the simplest feature that I did not know would make that much a difference, but that magnet keeping this up out of the way from players tripping over it. It's real simple when you use our systems. You walk up, you push, it's a bend tip nozzle, get a drink, and you're done. Pumps intermittent and it stops on its own. That's a Frio hydration system. I knew we wanted to release in March. I knew everything that was coming. I'm still working 80 hours a week and I'm running with this idea, and at some point I'm gonna get caught. It's like the imposter syndrome. Like, you're not this dude, Rob. Like, you're not him. And so I remember I got scared enough that I called up one of our local competitors and I asked if I could meet with him and discuss this product idea I had. My idea in mind was, I can take a lot of this unknown off my plate if he'll buy my idea from me, and then I'll just work for him. Then I don't have to worry about overhead and warehouse and this and that and the other, and I can keep my day job and everything's gonna be fine. And I met with him and I said $10,000 would get me caught up after everything I'm putting in at this point. I said, you can have the idea for $10,000, we'll brand it as your product, and I'll come in here since you have all the stuff established, and then I don't have to do as much. Like, I was scared. The whole process is probably one of the scariest things I've ever done. And I remember him saying, you've got a good idea, but you haven't sold anything yet. I didn't know quite how to take that, but I was pretty defeated. That was the last day of month that February, and I had a decision to make on the 1st. Fear is a weird thing. It makes you think the worst is gonna happen when there's no guarantee it is. There's also no guarantee the best is gonna happen, but I know which one I'm working for. The next day I hit live, friohydration.com, opened our Facebook page, opened our Instagram, and posted change or stay the same. I just needed something to be available by football season later that year. Was hoping that I would get some sales during football season. So we're still proving concept. I'm just getting the name out and letting people know change is coming. It's been word of mouth, social media from the jump. Because I feel like that's, in the athletic training world, it's a very common practice to, hey, I got this new piece of equipment, or I'm thinking of it, and they'll call up a peer and say, hey, what do you think? That mattered. So I knew what I made had to be good, because athletic trainers are an honest bunch of people. They're gonna tell you if it was good, and they're gonna tell you if it wasn't. One of my peers at the time had seen the janky prototype. He was like, I like what you're doing there. And I'm like, I don't know yet. I was still in that fear spot. And he was like, you need to sell it. So we go to a small convention here in Houston. I bring in our first actual prototype that wasn't a Frankenstein of all the other water units. Like, this was our first welded cart, our manifold we thought would work at the time. And I walked in there with no other units made. And kept it real with everybody that came in. That day, we probably got 4 or 5 quote requests, people wanting more information. And then there was Cody Wade. He was down in Manville. And Cody said, I like it. Let's do it. I'll get 2 of them. We just made our first sale. And we actually left that show making 3. So we finished the rest of the summer. I put in my first order for 6 carts with our welder at the time, Mr. Mays. He took about a month. We're getting late July. Well, now I'm waiting on other parts to come in. And that's really kind of what leads into now Frio is a real live breathing thing, because you got people willing to give you money for a product. Now you got to make it happen.
I know that he sits and explains Frio as in he kind of just threw everything together, and literally that's exactly what he did. He grabbed bits and pieces from the ground and just kind of threw it like, okay, this works. All right, I like it. It works for now, so let's keep it that way and then later on fix it.
So we got these orders because they were being purchased out of the previous year's budget. They had to be delivered by August 31st. And then I look at my accounts just to get the business going, and promotional media, all that, everything we had done. And I had every credit card was maxed out. Like, I'm still chasing a dream. I literally felt God say, call Dr. Rand. I'm not gonna bug Dr. Rand, who was our team doctor, a friend of mine, but I'm not gonna bug him with this because I need like 15 grand, like just to get the coolers and everything. I'm not gonna do that, God. Like, I'm arguing with him.
You know, he is energetic, he's dedicated, you know, he was really passionate about his product. And so I didn't hesitate at all, you know, offering to help him out.
And he said, well, how much do you need to get these orders out the door? And I'm like, 15 grand would probably be about it. Here, hands me a check.
Really, I just saw his passion. He'd thrown everything he had into this. He'd sort of given up on his previous life and knew that this is where he wanted to be. Other people had talked about what he was building and how good it was, and his humbleness and his willingness to say, I can't do this alone. And, you know, by doing that, he's been able to build what is his dream. And, you know, what a better thing can you do for somebody than help them realize a dream?
Something about when somebody else believes in you too, because up to this point, it had been majority of me and people checking in. How's that little idea you had? Dr. Rand put his money where his mouth was. I went back and made him a little contract, and I will pay you by then, and this, that, and the other. So now we had our money in. Now we can order these parts.
It was interesting seeing Rob go from athletic training Rob to Frio Rob. He was a lot more, he was really busy. I remember him never really having free time because it was daytime AT and nighttime Frio. And that was like that for the beginning of Frio.
The last little bit of parts to get these orders out arrived the night of August, so it would have been 29th. Monday is September 1. So I'm calling these customers and like, will you be available tomorrow? Because we're gonna have them ready to go. Mind you, nothing's fully built. And I get home about 11 o'clock that night and we just start working. I've got to get these first orders done, get them out the door. And I'm like, whatever it takes. I believed in the product. Now I got somebody over here that believes in me and funding it. About 4 in the morning, we're missing 1 or 2 parts we can pick up at Lowe's. I grabbed my keys. I guess I was delirious. I said, well, I'll run to Lowe's and get the parts. And Dad's like, Lowe's isn't open. And I said, what do you mean? It's 4:30. All right, well, we got about 1.5 hours till they open, so let's just keep working. So we work all night. We head to Lowe's. We stop by Rudy's, grab a breakfast taco. We're both delirious out of our minds. Get the parts we need. It's about 9 o'clock, and they're pushed out in my front yard because we don't have room. And my dad had my little trailer hooked up to his Tahoe, and I had my truck, and I took the furthest ones that were going to Sanger High School north of Dallas. Dad loaded up everything in the Houston area, down in Manville, over at Huffsmith Hargrave, and I believe Klein Oak was in the mix too. Our first 4 units were complete, and we're about to go make our delivery, and I've got to drive 5.5 hours to Sanger with no sleep. When I got out of the truck, the customer had met me. I drop them, and I remember just kind of the customer was looking at me. He was like, "You all right, man?" I said, "Yeah, we maybe didn't sleep last night." And he was like, "Hold on, you stayed up all night to get this done and get it delivered?" And I said, "Yeah, man, it's what we do. It's what we do. Whatever it takes," because I really, truly, even still believe athletic trainers deserve a company and a product that works as hard as they do. And I hit that hotel room and slept for 12 hours and then got up, drove home, and Monday turned around and went back to my day job as an athletic trainer. And that was our first sale. Here we are. We got our loan from Dr. Rand. We were able to pay him back, keep a little in the bank. And my goal was to not incur a ton of debt as we go, because I'd already had enough personal debt tied up in it. I wanted it to be a healthy business. So we're hand to mouth, making a sale. And we were back and forth like that. I mean, even sometimes still today at times, because we're still a small business despite what maybe we appear. Organization on a good day sometimes for me is not that good. So Mom hopped in 2016.
First of all, for him to ask for help is a lot. So I knew when he called, if he's asking me for help, he's in trouble.
I'm doing what I need to do the bare minimum. Let's get the sales, let's get the school paperwork done. But tracking my receipts and my expenses and trying to build the whole business, I needed help.
There was papers on the desk, under the desk, on the floor, in shoe boxes. I literally walked out.
That's when things began to flow a little better. She got to where she was processing the orders while I kept my day job.
2016, we knew ahead of time they were closing our shop in Brenham. We had already knew we were getting laid off. We stayed in Burton that first year after getting laid off and lived off my severance package, because Robbie couldn't afford to pay at that time. So, and we stayed over there up through December.
And I said, "Dad, don't worry about it. I think we got something here."
So Robbie said, "Why don't you just move over here and live with us?"
Being able to employ my parents, that was a big deal. In 2017, we're rolling, we're doing well. And if you're aware of what 2017 was for Houston, the year of Harvey, the whole Gulf Coast was wrecked. At the time, we were kind of Houston down to Corpus. We're really growing our base. Everything had been trashed by Harvey. We saw a big dent in our business. Of course, us being able to actually get to our shop at one point, we couldn't. Our shop fortunately made it through. Everything was fine. I got to keep moving, and I got to keep praying. I got to keep saying, "God, like, you keep giving me this drive and this vision to serve athletic trainers and coaches and athletes with quality hydration equipment. So if that's what you want me to keep doing, you're going to have to help me navigate it."
He always comes to you with the problem and at least 4 options to how to solve it.
We stuck with it. We found a way the whole time. And we keep doing that. 2018, we just find a way. And so 2019 was when I really first started looking at doing Frio full time. And then that spring, I had told my principal, I think this is it. I'm gonna go ahead and chase this dream and try to be self-employed. Get through the summer, things are looking great, everything's awesome. I'm able to do more for the business. I can see a tangible difference in our numbers with me being fully, not 80 hours at my day job, then trying to do 30 or 40 and working literally, I mean, there was 5 or 6 times I would work all night and go to work all day, no sleep.
My mom had a massive stroke, and I had to go to Corpus.
So I told my dad, "That's your mom. You need to be there." And I said, "I'll figure it out, while you go be with your mom."
And Robbie was here by himself doing everything, and he was staying at the shop.
I was sleeping in a hammock at the shop just because I would work so late. And then I would just take a nap and get up and work some more. And then February of 2020, we hear about this thing called coronavirus. Probably not gonna affect us. And I remember in March when they shut down the rodeo, and I said, "This is gonna be big." UIL stopped sports, and that's a moment we all kind of looked at each other. No sports, no sales. And I remember talking with Patrick from Icy Tech, and he was asking me, hey man, like, how many coolers are you gonna need for this fall? And I said, dude, I don't think I need a single ice chest from you. And he said, well, that sucks because I'm not selling anything either. You know, we're all hurting. Nobody's moving product. And he said, man, if there was a way you could figure out like a hands-free. And the first thing that popped in my head, of course, in the doctor situation, right? How they wash their hands when they're scrubbing in for surgery. It's a foot pedal. Let me do a little research like I always do. And I found some foot pedals. And I was kind of like, what if? Then I had my dad kind of look at it. He's real good with just the mechanical side of things. And I said, how can we make this work? And we had 2 or 3 different renditions, but we came up with the first hands-free hydration system. I called Patrick and I was like, dude, that little idea sparked something. And I sent him some pictures and he was like, I'm gonna get you in touch with my patent lawyer out of California. You need to get that provisional. We went from, I don't know what we're gonna do. Once again, that mess turned into a message. And I wanted to be able to do my part if sports came back, but that was the big question mark. And so we, once again, social media, something new coming from Frio, and it's this foot pedal.
We've spent our quarantine working on the HFS or the hands-free system. This system is easily upgraded with any Frio hydration system, and it is 100% compatible with whatever system you have. If you order a new Frio system from us, this is going to be included for you at no extra charge. And this is a COVID-19 special that we are offering you.
Of course, nobody responds on it because they don't have a clue what we're doing. They're like, sports aren't even happening. We were really waiting in Texas to hear what the UIL would do. If they would allow football to go, we knew we had a product we could sell. And if they would do it, then other states might. It's going to be modified. It's going to be different, but we would have a way to play a role in sports coming back. God ain't done with Frio yet.
In the Bible, when they were in Egypt, every time something good happened or God answered their prayer, Moses would tell them to build like an altar out of rocks.
For every time God comes through, we're going to go grab a rock. And then we're going to have a pile of rocks. And then whenever the next time you think that mess ain't going to work out, remember that pile of rocks and where he has done what he did, what he was going to do the whole time.
And every time something would happen, I'd put a rock in there and it filled up pretty quick.
That pile of rocks becomes something of a monument that we look at that God did this. And sure enough, UIL said, we're going to play football. We're going to do it a little bit different, which actually worked out in our favor because it extended the season, gave people more time to be able to get access to our product. And then we begin selling not only in Texas, but nationwide as other states follow. Every individual district is having all of these modifications. Some coaches were able to take this information into these meetings with the powers that be at their district and share that, hey guys, we don't have to necessarily modify everything. Like, look at this water feature that we could do. It's hands-free. So to think about our product being a part of that process of getting sports back, that meant a lot to us. And we just got a flood of orders. Mitigating the flood of orders with the world as it was then, that, you know, we're masking, places are still closed. And then I'm out here trying to make deliveries, and every school district has different policies about no contact. And it was crazy, but it was a good crazy. I felt like we were actually a part of the whole sports coming back. And I personally knew that while COVID lasted, that would be a hot product. That would be something we would ride as long as we needed to. And it gave me kind of a comfort zone during COVID. We were able to make back what we lost on the actual unit sales from this hands-free system. Once again, Another year, we escaped whatever great tragedy, but that's another sign, another rock on the pile. We're doing it exactly what we were supposed to be doing. The exposure we gained from the hands-free systems took us to markets that I wouldn't say we would never have been to, but they got us there quicker. We designed the hands-free that it not only worked with the Frio, you could order it outright with these 4 6 feet apart hands-free stations. Because I've worked with every other hydration system on the market, I had an adapter for everybody else's equipment. So you could buy our stand, you didn't have to necessarily purchase a Frio, but you could buy our hands-free system and connect it to your existing, which just blew the doors wide open, allowed us to serve athletic trainers and coaches. They get to see our process. They're getting to interact with Paula through sales or the office with my mom and my sister, and really getting that feel for, wow, Frio's different.
We've been able to outperform a lot of our competitors. I mean, none of them can touch us on as far as warranty work and any of that. No one out there is going to be saying, hey, I can give you a 4 or 5 year warranty on the unit.
And it's like everything else. I can only do so much until the point that I can. So Dad comes into the picture and helps out on the production side. And then my office was a wreck. Mom comes in. And then as we progress, we've got, I'm sitting here and I'm like, who is somebody that can do sales?
Miss Robin had been putting a bug in Rob's ear for years, saying, you need help, you need somebody else in here.
Paula's sitting over there. She's a person that can help us. Mom keeps kind of chirping in my ear, and I'm like, let's give her a call. I said, I got a crazy idea, Paula.
In the beginning, it was just hourly, and then summertime, I became full-time and became salary, and it's worked out for 4 years now.
I told her, I said, look, this is the number of sales I've been able to do by myself. We've got to be able to double that in a certain time period, and that's really how I'm going to be able to afford this next position.
When I first started working for Rob, we did good.
As soon as I hired Paula, things just took off even more so, and we're getting exposure nationwide. Paula's going crazy on the sales. It was just an amazing time for Frio. It was one of those like, I finally could breathe. And then the beginning of 2021 is another, here we go, what are we gonna do, situation. And that would be when all of our coolers were not available. You got to think factories all around the world, they had their own runs of COVID or their own COVID kind of restrictions. But then when employees start getting sick and there's a little bit of a supply chain backup there. Now shipping companies are getting backed up on getting their supplies. There's very few components on what we do that I couldn't find a replacement because they're just so unique and so good for that particular part. So the water tanks that we use from ICTech, nobody else makes them in the dimensions with the connection points that we need on the outside we don't have to modify these coolers very much. They work, plug and play.
Our cooler guy from ICTech, he couldn't get any coolers.
The first phone call I had with Patrick from ICTech was coolers will be delayed, looking at June. I can work with it. And then by June, he said, it's indefinite at this point. I cannot get a container on a ship, and if I can, it can't go to port.
Without coolers, we couldn't make deliveries. We couldn't meet POs. Without meeting the POs, you have no money coming in.
And our coolers actually, they come out of Thailand. So we didn't have quite the Chinese restrictions on the product, but we still had to deal with overseas. And the coolers are a key component. And I searched every other brand on the market. Nothing was gonna work. So I said, what do we do? And he said, I don't know. I don't know either. Out of this whole process of Frio and all the years, God said, work. At this point, he said, wait. I held on to this little sliver of hope because I kept asking God, if you don't want us to do this anymore, just let me know. I'm okay with it. And I thought this might be it, but this time he wasn't saying no. He was just saying, wait, just wait. And I struggled mentally with that.
So Robbie gets a call from Ruben Cantu down at Kingsville. Can you come help us? We were in the bind.
They needed some help for the fall of 2021 season. Kingsville's always been a special place, and it's always helped me refine who I am. It pushed me to get over myself, to get back to that quit complaining, find a way to get it done. And I spent that whole season as a college athletic trainer just trying to make it work. My contract was up at the end of November with Kingsville, and they had hinted at, hey, you want to come back for the spring? And I'm like, no, man, my coolers are going to come in. And I get home and still no idea if they were even going to make it on a ship. We ended up selling my house to get the equity out to my buddy Jerry, who's a part of what we do. He kind of handles our taxes, finances, and we lived off the equity from the house, literally paying. I mean, we still have bills for the business. I have a shop rent to pay. I have things I got to pay. I'm still trying to pay employees for something.
We were down to 2 weeks. That was it. We were going to have to close the door. That's all we had in the bank. And we were praying to make the 2 weeks, and we were fighting because we were both worried. And he stormed out and he went down to our old shop. And then he called me because he forgot something or he was waiting on a package. I don't remember which. And I said I would meet him. He called me right before I left. Pull up this song, and I can't remember the name of it. And by the time we met, we were both bawling because it was like just another one of those signs. It's going to be okay. We don't know how.
Finally, Patrick was able to get the ship that his coolers were on, instead of going in port in California, that it came in port like over in North Carolina or South Carolina, over there on the East Coast.
I get a call at the end of that January from Patrick, and he said, coolers have landed.
So we found out that the coolers were on the ground and they were on their way to Tennessee.
So we go look at the bank account. I had like $5,000 worth of bills that month for the business. We had $3,000 in the account, and Mom's like, I'll figure it out. And my dad had been saving up a little bit of his Lowe's money, and he had about $1,500 he loaned to us. We rented a truck and a trailer because we're going to get 50, 60 coolers, and we drive to Tennessee to go to the IC Tech headquarters. And we're literally riding on the last dime we had.
And time again, God has sent POs, God has answered prayers, and kept this business open. I don't understand it. I've heard stories, and you hear stories about how businesses that start up, most of the time they don't make it the first time around.
This is the moment where if I got there and something happened, like that's it, I got to shut it down. And I remember walking in their warehouse, and almost brought me to tears to see coolers. It was just like a flood of everything I had been through that fall, going down to Kingsville and really just kind of working through my own stuff. They're here. And I remember loading the trailer, and it still didn't feel real. I remember the day we got back down here, the Frio family, as we call them, everybody shows up. I'm like, guys, we got like 60, 70 coolers we got to unload. And everybody showed up, and it was a great day at the shop. And we unloaded the coolers, and we're filling orders from 6 months ago. But that meant we had money available. That primed the pump. And here we are, Frio's back, baby.
Knowing all the things he's been through, and to see him have to give all that up, it would kill me.
Everybody around me, that really felt like they got it. They knew what this meant to all of us as a family.
It feels good to be in that family aspect. Everything is involved in there. Your heart, your sentiments, everything that you want to, you have it there. If you have, again, anytime you're having any issue, regardless of what it is, if anybody needs anything, we're all there for us. And that's one of the main reasons why this company, I think, works as good as it does. We like to say, look, I'll take care of you because we want you to be good, not just because you work for us. I want you to want to work for us. And that's always been his mentality. And I think that's what helps him retain the people that we have now.
The people you work with, they're like family. If you disagree with something, you can tell them and nobody gets butthurt about it. Nobody is offended, nobody, and that helps a lot to be able to work in an environment that you enjoy.
I just see, we're just adding to the family down the line. I just see more workers eventually.
We were able to get back into business as things were just looking better and sales were coming, customers calling. Are your coolers in? Like, they're as excited as we are because they've been ready to order. Because for the last 8 months, we've been telling them, don't have anything. And as bad as I want you to get Frio, you can't right now. We get to firing on all cylinders. We're able to find the shop we're in now to be able to expand. My sister comes in, they moved over here from Leander, finally getting her in the office just smoothed things out even more.
And he was like, Mom needs full-time help, and so that was job security, and I was like, okay, let's go.
Our customers are so proud to have Frio. That's what we signed up to do, was to make the best hydration systems in the world. But equally as important to me has been the impact this has had on the people I love. It's never been a polarizing thing. It's never been a, oh, Rob's doing this thing. It's been a, how can we help? Being able to utilize Frio to take my mom to Arizona to be with her dad at his 80th birthday while we're there doing a convention, and seeing how proud Grandpa was of everything that we were doing, the pride my dad has when he talks to people. I hope that it's benefited everybody around me in their life and their quality of life. That's why we did this. Change the future of our family forever. That's something that I hang my hat real high on. Even if we would have been done by now, even if Harvey would have got us, COVID would have got us, no money would have got us, I could still hang my hat higher than anybody and just say, hey, my people benefited. I wish I could have done more, but I know I've done some things that are kind of rare for a human to do. I want to retire Mom and Dad. They've earned it. They've been in here 10 years, and for the first 3 or 4 work for free.
I always wondered, how in the world am I going to be able to take care of my wife when we get older? I knew Social Security had that, but I said, that ain't going to be enough. Every time I tried to have a 401k or something, we always had to go into it and use it up. So I figured, I'm going to just have to work the rest of my life.
They can be a part of Frio. They can still bounce in and out, but they're not stuck to the August bum rush of orders that we get every year, and that they can just, kind of cruise on out, that we could grow and just bring in some people for them.
God's always got an answer. And it's going to be through Frio Hydration that we have our future. And we're going to be taken care of. Didn't know that a long time ago, but see, he said, call unto me, and I will show you great and mighty things which thou knowest not. Long as we stay faithful to him first.
By the end of this decade, we will be the Post-it notes of hydration systems. You can't say, I need a water cow or a water unit. You're gonna say, I need a Frio. And everybody's gonna know what that means.
We haven't even touched the beginning of where we can be. I think if we touch 10% of the industry.
I wanna see us on every sideline. I wanna see us helping any team that we can.
Once I'm able to say, hey, we have a unit in every single state in the US, then maybe I can stop saying, okay, maybe you can add a 0.5. But until then, I'm always gonna add another 0.
Just perform better, do better, prevent heat illness, save lives. That's part of what we do. Providing cold water is a key. That's really what I want for our company. And I want to see what else we can invent. Look at us. I mean, we figured it out this far, right? To keep living the American dream, that's the goal. you know, outside of God himself, which the option's always there, that God, if this ain't it for my life, let me know. I'm okay with it. You've already shown us so many blessings so far. But until then, we're gonna keep banging out the best hydration systems in the world, I promise you. I promise you.
Three, two, one. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Rob McFarland with Frio Hydration. I am cut. Three, two, one. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Cut. Three, two, one. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hi, this is Rob with Frio Hydration. Three, two, one. Hello, this is Rob with Frio Hydration. We are a three, two, one. This is our new hands-free system. We're a small business in Houston, Texas. Cut. It's compatible with any Frio Hydration. Cut. Your athlete's gonna come up, they're gonna be hot and sweaty, they're gonna wanna drink. No hands.
Can you say and spell your first and last name?
No, I don't know how.
There
There you go.
the sweat is easily. Am I shiny? Do I need to?
No.
Okay.
You're good.
I feel shiny.
I think we can understand that you and I were not around when the computer age came to be.
Yo creo que en 10 años esta compañía va a ser una de las compañías, la compañía principal donde la gente puede hablarnos y nosotros podemos darles el servicio y el producto que necesitan en la manera, en un tiempo normal, o sea, vamos los 2-3 días y te podemos dar el producto que estás buscando. Y el servicio. Oh, claro, el país o el destino no es no es ningún problema. Si lo necesitan en México, en Italia o España, el producto va a llegar.
His favorite thing when I annoyed him, when he would grab like my thigh, a little chunk of it, twist it, and then we didn't just twist it, he would twist it and then punch it when he was done. Yeah, that's when I knew I'd made him mad, and I better leave him alone for a while.
He had sat there and said some of the craziest things, and
I see these visions of one day we will talk about this.
we all just kind of, really, Rob? Really? Yeah. Really?
Robert, when you see this, you weren't right, but you're still right.
You don't put that over.
All geniuses have messy work areas. At least that's was my theory, or still is.
He's also a pyromaniac.
Yeah, he's touched everybody in their own ways. He's touched them, and nobody can take that from him. Nobody can.
Everything is written on my planner. I do not, they put it on the calendar and I take it off my phone and put it on my phone.
Humans can fit, but don't do that. We've got a heavy duty hitch handle here on the front. And when I say heavy duty, there's type powder coat on it, so bear with me. That's in there. Karen, a little bit of grease on the handle next time so I don't look like I don't know what I'm doing. A little bit of grease on the handle, guys. So,
okay, start over.
I'm gonna start it over.
Come on, leave that on there.
While I'm dripping sweat, Jesus. All right, so we'll take it back from here. Back from the top, 3, 2, 1. And the one feature that seems to be the one that everybody likes more than anything, other than here we are again. Cut, 3, 2, 1.
Agrega otro cero.
Here we are, we're gonna do a film for our 10th anniversary. Really, Bob? How are you gonna pull? Okay, here we are.